The Bad Crypto Podcast is the show for the crypto curious and the crypto serious. We enjoy educating our listeners while entertaining them. If you're just getting started with cryptocurrency or blockchain, you'll find our listener starter kit at badco.in/basics.
We've seen an abundance of crypto-related books come out over the past couple years, but let's face it, there's a lot to say about the blockchain world. And today, we welcome two authors to the show to discuss their findings.
Who's this guy?
What is going on here?
Is that Oz Sultan?
The Wizard of Oz?
Oz Sultan doing our teaser. Hey, Oz, can I finish this?
Absolutely.
Because people are used to hearing my voice.
Yeah, it's true. It's kind of weird.
Get your own podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you will.
So Sean Weisbrot is a 3-time author and the founder and CEO of Sidekick. It's an integrated messaging, payments, and marketplace ecosystem that utilizes blockchain payments to support many top coins people already know and love. But first, we'll introduce you to Yolanda Rondon. Her experience in crypto regulation led her to pen a novel called The Market. It's a story depicting the rise of cryptocurrency through a fictional company and its developers. Travis is in Denver with me for the ETHDenver conference, and we've got a couple surprise guest visitors as well. Well, one surprise because we already said that Oz is here.
Hello.
That may or may not be Elise Sam. So what do you get when you cross a blockchain fact with blockchain fiction? 2 great interviews, an author stew, and some super groovy surprise guests here on episode number 370 of the Bad Crypto Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Who's bad?
And welcome to the Bad Crypto Podcast, where Mr. Travis Wright and I are in the same room in Denver, Colorado.
That is true. We're in the high rise here, Mr. Joel Combs' place in Denver. And there's lots of people here. We're actually doing a podcast here with several people in the room, all of which are friends.
Yeah,
Mostly friends, kind of some acquaintancy type people.
Except that guy over there in the corner. Who's that guy? What's he doing over there? Just sitting there rummaging through my stuff. Hey,
Is this a giraffe? The little giraffe or Ryan?
Down. Oh, Ryan's here.
Ryan, our business development guy.
Oz Sultan is here.
Well, that's true. Big round of applause for him in your brain.
And Elise Sam is here.
This is also.
Nobody can hear you because you're not talking into the
Also, a
microphone.
producer over here.
Our producer, Aaron, is here. Yeah, we got some great interviews here for this show. Travis is in town for ETHDenver. And Travis, I know you can be all jelly, but I got to meet Vitalik today.
That's great. We got to meet Vitalik's dad.
Yeah, you did.
We did. Yeah. Oh, and at least hold on. You got the news.
I've got the news. Yeah. No.
Okay, you actually hold it in front of you. There you go.
Fine. I've got the mic. And actually, when Travis and Ryan and I walked in, Vitalik was standing right there. So yeah, I spoke to him as well and talked to his father, who trained me in blockchain. And so we were talking to all of them about that experience. And then I introduced you to Dimitri.
To Dimitri, and Travis spoke to him in Russian.
Yes, Travis did speak to him in Russian, but he screwed it up immensely.
I messed up my I messed up the conjugations, but that was good. Great to meet you. I was totally surprised at how young Vitalik's dad is. Oh. So, like, if you think like Vitalik is young and looks young, like his dad looks like he's in his early 30s.
I don't know. Maybe they're reversed. Maybe Vitalik is the father.
Maybe it's Benjamin Button type of stuff.
Yeah, Dimitri. Anyway, glad you guys are here. Got some great content and then some witty banter. It hasn't been witty yet. It's just been banter, but there'll be some witty banter by the time we're done.
Well, there's no guarantee it'll be witty. We're not witty banter advisors.
It'll just be banterish. But our sponsor for the show is Divvy. They're taking early signups now for their new digital finance ecosystem. It's going to offer crypto debit cards, instant bank accounts, and fiat to crypto on and off ramps right into your wallet. You're going to build little ramps that go right into your wallet with Divvy. If you want to be the first in line to get your hands on these services, go to wallet.divvyproject.org. Enter your email, wallet.divvyproject.org.
How many ramps?
On and off ramps.
Oh, so 2?
So at least 2.
Yeah.
I mean, what other ramp do
Well,
you
there's
need?
the handicap ramp, so there may be 3.
Okay, for those that need a little extra help getting their crypto on and off.
That's true.
That's a
I've
handicap
met some
ramp.
people like that.
And speaking of handicap, Mr. Travis Wright. That's how you're feeling right now, at least mentally.
Well, hey, we are in Denver. And oh, by the way, Joel goes, hey, we need to record those things. And I was like, oh, well, okay.
Because we're in Denver.
Yeah, we're already in Denver.
And a lot of people here are high.
That's true.
Well, let's get to an interview.
There's no confirmation you're denying this.
There's confirmation.
No,
Yeah,
no, it's not true.
There was a road trip.
That is true. That is true.
There's plenty of confirmation, but we have an interview recorded when you weren't stoned. So let's talk to Yolanda Rondon. There's been a lot of books released in the crypto marketplace, but I think this is the first one I've seen that is a novel. The book is called The Market, and it depicts the rise of cryptocurrency through a fictional company and its developers. We're pleased to have with us today the author of The Market. Her name is Yolanda Rondon. And I think I rolled my R's properly. She's a civil rights and national security attorney in Washington, D.C. and New York. She studied at Case Western University School of Law and Georgetown University Law Center. That's where she learned all about crypto regulation and the principles underpinning its creation. She's here now to talk crypto with us and her new book, The Market. Yolanda, welcome to Bad Crypto.
Yes, great. Thank you for having me. And you rolled your R's perfectly.
Excellent. I get marks for rolling R's.
Oh, that's really good. That's a good compliment, Mr. Jolcom.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Did you say you just graduated from graduate school? Or, yeah.
I just graduated from Georgetown with my LLM in national security law. Mm-hmm. And I originally went back because I really wanted to focus on how technology impacted communities of color because of my legal experience as a civil rights attorney.
And somewhere along the way, you discovered Bitcoin and crypto. When did that happen?
Well, I was fortunate enough. Georgetown is one of the few universities that offers a cryptocurrency regulation course. And it just sparked my attention because I was always curious about Bitcoin myself, but also the use of Bitcoin by refugee communities overseas, which was the primary communities I was helping through my civil rights work. And so I took a great course by Professor Christopher Brummer and Patrick McCarty. And from there, I was hooked on Bitcoin and the potential avenues for it to be used. Also really touched me about it hit on the principles about privacy and about the right to anonymity. So I really wanted to delve into that throughout my book.
You know, I was unaware that Georgetown had that. I think that's really cool. Now, what was the course like around regulation when, in a lot of ways, the crypto regulation is still kind of up in the air?
Yeah, so that's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of being a lawyer, right? We get paid lots of money.
You're going to be the ones that help scope the regulations, maybe.
Yeah, we're going to be the ones that help scope it, but also we also essentially advise and get paid lots of money to advise on how old laws can be used to kind of interpret and advise on future regulation. And so crypto is still largely being regulated by the old, 1940s SEC regulations around securities. And so we were really delving into that, and really attorneys are being paid for their opinions on how that can or cannot apply and what is the best way to design your crypto asset or your ICO to get the least regulation as possible, but as well as also abide by the law.
You know, no matter who we talk to about this, everybody's got a different opinion on what it's going to take for crypto adoption to really go mainstream. Are you of the mindset, because the regulation area is your specialty, that regulation being in place is going to be the thing that triggers the market?
I don't. My opinion is that crypto is not going anywhere. I think it definitely has a place, particularly as we look towards the future and people, of course, being more concerned about how the market works. Or you have to look no further than the recent coronavirus and the impact that that's having on the economy, that people are looking for alternative avenues to grow their wealth, to save their wealth, as well as how the economy is going to look like 30, 40 years from now.
So you have a very unique background. So before you went to the cryptocurrency law, you were your civil rights and civil liberties law. Is that right? Before that, now you went and learned this next level. You got another degree.
Correct. I got another degree, an LLM on top of the
Nice.
JD.
Stacking those skills. That's great.
That's the intent.
That's beautiful. So how do you see that? Because I know that it's a very unique skill set that you're building. How do they all overlap, and what is your sort of mission and call for all of these skills? Because it sounds like you were talking about, different cryptos in refugee areas and in developing countries and different things. What in an ideal world, what does that look like for you, and how you're going to help do that?
Well, I guess in an ideal world, we essentially will be advising communities of color, particularly, or those emerging migrant communities, on best practices when it comes to using crypto. But not only that, how these communities can regulate it themselves in their own country states, especially when they go back to rebuild. We can look to the country of Syria for that and the potential aspects there. And they'll be getting their lessons from countries who have already done this, like in countries in Africa, who have done this a lot with humanitarian aid transfers and getting direct humanitarian donations from the donor directly to those in need. So there are a lot of aspects and avenues around that as we look into the human rights area and the future of that.
It appears that you're well-traveled. You've been to China, Guatemala, Palestine, Turkey, but you were raised in the Bronx. So, but having seen so much of the world and having your finger on the pulse of crypto regulation, what countries do you feel like are really leading the way in doing this right?
That's a loaded question.
That's how I like my questions. I mean, I don't want to unload them because then there's no power there.
Yeah, he likes twice baked potatoes also, right?
It's true, I do.
Loaded and then reloaded. That's good.
Yeah, I would say for now, I think a great example is Kenya and their humanitarian efforts around use of crypto and Bitcoin. I would say there are also, of course, emerging markets, potentially in Brazil, depending upon how much the government plans to be involved in infrastructure like a stable coin. I think a lot of countries have varying degrees into how much is really going to be a truly decentralized currency versus just a stable coin option.
I'm curious, can you dig a little deeper on Kenya? What are they doing there that you think is, really cutting edge?
Well, in terms of Kenya, they're particularly using Bitcoin and the blockchain technology in order to assess and make sure that transactions are fully going through in regards to humanitarian aid donations. So essentially, they're trying to use it to curb corruption and curb bribery, which is always a big issue when it comes to big governments and funding, even in this country. So I think that is cutting edge when it's a historical, historical background in African countries with a lot of corruption and concerns around donations given to countries in need.
You say even in this country, I would say especially in this country, So.
Well, I would say that because I think most people try to be optimistic that at least we're supposed to allegedly have the infrastructure and the agencies in place that are supposed to be providing oversight to prevent that type of aspect. Whereas in other countries, most people tend to frame the perspective as that country is a matter of course, it's a matter of culture, right? Like in order to keep the lights on, you have to bribe the electrician, right? That's just what you have to do. And so and those are on lower levels versus corruption in this country is a little bit more higher aspects that might not necessarily affect everyone's day-to-day life, such as getting electricity.
That's great. This is interesting stuff because there's so many different areas I think that we could go off and ask different questions about. But I think one of the things we want to cover for sure is you wrote a book. And
yes.
The book is called The Market, Crypto Wall Street. And the description is the market is a realistic novel exploring cryptocurrency and blockchain technology through its protagonist, Moto, and his creation of Bitcoin. And it explores the intersection of this innovation with civil liberties as the government's demand for control over industry grows with crypto's rise. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on there that sounds right on. So it's like a novel based on truth, right? Kind of a kind of realistic novel is what you call it. Nice. Tell us more about it and how you decided to write a book on this topic.
Well, I took the course, of course, and that sparked my interest. And when I was just coming home to New York on a winter break, and I saw a Bitcoin ATM in, of all places, Brooklyn, like Flatbush, Brooklyn, where it's a large Caribbean immigrant community. And I asked the bodega, right? That's what we call the corner stores. If anyone uses the ATM, like how long they've had it, things of that nature. And they were like, not really. They're like, some people come ask questions about it, but they really just got it because it was placed there for free, right? I guess, the people were trying to test the market in that community area. And so it sparked my attention that all over the world, in other communities, Bitcoin is well known and used, even in lower economic demographics, but not so much in United States. The United States is largely those who have disposable income, who are involved or invested, or those who have some level of college education. And that to me seemed to conflict, right, with the underlying principles for the, alleged creation of Bitcoin, right? The aspect about getting to the unbanked and the disenfranchised communities who didn't have traditional access to the financial structures. And so I was like, why is my community not more involved? Why does my community not as educated? And there is an outreach and education awareness issue, but it's also an aspect about being able to communicate this technology to the population. And I thought the novel was a unique way to do that, capture communities' attention, but also explore all the risks associated with it, because that's also another issue. So I want to be as transparent as possible, but also encouraging interest in this industry from these disenfranchised communities.
I have great admiration for people that are able to write fiction. Both Travis and I are authors of nonfiction books, and it's one thing to tell people about something. It's another to, from your imagination, develop these characters and the story of what they do. And, once upon a time, writing fiction was on my bucket list, and I don't think I have it in me. So I congratulate you for that. I'm curious, the writing process for you. Did you know where this book was going? Where did you have the end in mind, or are you one of those writers that you just start and it unfolds and you're almost as surprised, where you get at the end as the reader is?
I was surprised. I'm not a writer. I'm not.
Well, you are now. I mean, you wrote a book. That's a writer.
No, I agree, but more so like you. This was even a learning and growing process for me, because I'm trained to write in a legal way, meaning, right, there's an issue, there's a rule, there's an analysis, there's an end. And in this aspect, I didn't have an ending in mind. I got to interview a lot of interesting people for this book, including Alice Gladstein, who's with Human Rights Organization. And so those people really, interviewing the people for the book, really inspired me to see where the story was heading. Of course, I had to paraphrase and include in amazing corrupt scandals that occurred in the Bitcoin world, including like the Silk Road, including the Mt. Gox and those type of scandals, just so that the reader is intrigued and is also like able to pinpoint, okay, I see where this came from, right? I see this inspiration, this conversation. I also got to speak at conferences with, of course, Ethereum founder and the Ripple Labs founder at conferences. And so those little 2-minute conversations also inspired portions of the book as well, and where the novel went.
So as you've done your research and with your law background, what most excites you about blockchain? Like, how do you think blockchain is most going to positively impact the world, aside from the crypto aspect of things?
Well, I'm really curious as to, I just went to a conference the other day, but I'm really curious as to the aspect of people being able to control their own privacy and information. There's a lot of interest with that, with essentially there being some type of wallet where the individual controls the release of their information, whether it's social security numbers, their employment background, all those information that's required every time you go on an employment interview or every time you apply for a credit card, traditionally are going through a major credit union or a major block that's holding your information, is in control of your things. You're asking them permission to release it to a third party. So there are talks now about trying to use blockchain technology for those purposes, about control of identity and privacy for the future.
Most excellent. Well, it looks like you've got a lot to say, and you're just really, your career is still young. You're going to be doing this for many years and probably going to become quite a prolific voice in the blockchain legal world and perhaps in the reading world as well. The book is available at Amazon.com. You guys can go look it up there, The Market. And actually, there's a Kindle edition that is, at least as of this interview, available for $2.99. That sounds like you can't lose.
Yes, it's also available at Barnes and Nobles.
Oh, fantastic. I don't even have my book there now, so good on you.
Yes. I would just like to say also, like, I talked about this book so many times, but I think what's really interesting, which I even learned about when doing this book, is that even nowadays, like the transfer, the cost of money, of spending your money overseas is so expensive that, corporate officials even take planes like to the UK and other countries just to give money to their subsidiaries. And I thought that was something that, especially in my generation, we're like, what? You still can't transfer your money quickly without such, substantial fees. And so it was really a learning experience for me to reflect that even with all this technology, we still have a lot to go.
Well, this is cool. I'm interested. So Moto sounds like Satoshi Nakamoto. Like, who are some of the other characters in the book, and are they based on other people who we might know? Like, is there a Joel? Is Joel in your book? Is there a bad crypto podcast in your book that they listen to because they love crypto?
Why is that funny, Yolanda? I mean, is it so ridiculous that we would be a character in your book? I mean, put me in, coach.
I'm definitely open to it. Maybe we can work on a book together. Future, you'll be a character. But I was inspired also by government officials. And so the government's and congressional legislation that's pending to regulate. And so there is a character in my book that's based upon the SEC chairman, as well as the CFTC chairman, and their involvement essentially in a big Ponzi scheme scandal involving Bitcoin and crypto, and in their efforts to legislate and cover it up. And I think that aspect is not suggesting that the government is in cahoots with any criminal activity, but it's about exposing essentially the lack of education or knowledge in this area. And that was reflective in the recent congressional hearings around technology, period, but particularly cryptocurrency and their lack of education, but still want to regulate something. And then, of course, my characters are also inspired by the different CEOs of cryptocurrency and statements they've made in the press. And so you would see that there's also a story covered that involves, allegations of how can I say, I don't want to get sued, but that involves.
I'm not going to sue you, Travis. Do you promise not to sue her?
I'm not gonna sue. Hey,
Yeah.
Bad Cryptopia, be nice. Don't sue.
Yeah, don't sue.
Don't sue me. But that involves a lot of allegations and scandals concerning particularly a big social media company that's trying to introduce a cryptocurrency and their role in it in light of privacy and data breaches and information being leaked everywhere. And so it really tries to intrigue and address those issues so that the reader can relate and say, hey, this makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what's going on today in my life.
So hopefully they will be intrigued by the story, learn a little something about crypto, and want some more. Is there an audiobook version?
There is not an audiobook version yet.
Okay.
But
well, let me give you a taste of it. Sam had a long day at work. It seemed like it would never end. Taking over the family farm was decided by virtue of his birth, but tough. Nevertheless, Sam went to school for accounting, a somewhat different life than trudging through rows of strawberries and stacking strawberries for sale. His parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and their parents before them have always grown strawberries. It was their livelihood. There you go.
That was very nice. I was trying to. I was going to fast forward it though. I was going to do like the 2x on it so I could hear it faster.
That's the opening to the book. So we're gonna meet Sam, and let's see. So there's actually a sample on the Amazon site. You can see like the first few pages. There's Brad, and there's Joe.
Joel. Oh, Joe.
Joe.
Sorry, Joel.
Yeah, and Moto makes his appearance early on. So, well, we appreciate you coming on, Yolanda. Thanks for joining us, and good luck with your book.
Thank you.
Yolanda Rondon, excellent interview with her. Also, you know what? She wrote a great book. You guys should definitely check that out. Also, something you should check out, cryptotaxaudit.com. That's an annual subscription service. It provides audit defense for taxpayers, specifically designed for people who have cryptos. And you know, you've seen on the latest thing for the IRS, it says, have you received any cryptos this year? You got to check a little thing on the thing. So make sure you get yourself a nice crypto tax expert. It's like a subscription, like kind of like an insurance policy for your cryptos. So make sure you get everything done all legally. Cryptotaxaudit.com. Go check it out. Defend yourself.
Proof that Mr. Travis Wright can read while stoned.
Dude, I'm amazing. 3/4 the interviews we've done, I'm stoned. Oh.
That because we are indeed this interview conducted while maybe he was on the Wacky Weed, maybe he wasn't. A lot of weed talk here while in Colorado. This is Sean Weisbrot.
Actually, I had a business idea about weed too. We could talk about.
Let's talk about that after this interview.
Talk about after the interview.
Okay, here we go. Mr. Travis Wright, you have been to China. I have not.
I have been to China. I have a 10-year visa to go to China.
Do you remember last year I was supposed to go and got to the airport and actually had to turn around because China said, the government said they'd have my visa on the ground when I got there, but in the U.S. they wouldn't let me get on the plane because I didn't have the visa in hand. So I was actually packed, standing at the check-in counter, and I couldn't go anywhere.
I remember that. I was laughing on the inside.
That's not nice.
Just this thing, but it's kind of funny to be like, luckily it wasn't like you got to China and they were like, sorry, sucker, go back.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was just a way better scenario. Could have been worse.
We talk a lot about what's going on in China on this show, but we have somebody with us today who actually spent a lot of time in China, at least 10 years or so, and he's in Vietnam now, but he knows a lot of people in China. He founded a nonprofit in Shenzhen called Idea Exchange. He knows a lot about blockchain, and right now he's the founder and CEO of Sidekick, which is a messaging payment marketplace ecosystem that uses blockchain payments to support many of the top coins that you already know. His name is Sean Weisbrot, and Sean, welcome to the Bad Crypto Podcast.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you both.
Absolutely. So you moved to China right out of college, is that right?
That's right. 2008, about 2 months after I got my diploma in my hands, I had a job in China and I was on the ground there.
Well, was that just something you always like, when I graduate, I want to go to China?
I knew in high school that I didn't want to stay in the States after I finished university, but I knew that the only way I could get a job overseas and get out of the States was to have a degree from an American university. So I ended up just getting my degree so that I could go. And then as soon as I finished, I looked for jobs and went.
Now, did you study Chinese when you were in college? I mean, how familiar were you with the language by the time you got over there? Because that language is, I can't read it at all. I can speak some of it, but I can't see any letters unless it's, it's like they're phonetically spelling it out so I can sound it out. But their alphabet is very challenging.
So I actually taught myself German in high school, and I took German for most of college as well. I was one class away from getting a minor in German. I even studied abroad in Austria, in Salzburg, which is where The Sound of Music, I think that's the name of the movie.
The hills are alive with the sounds of Bitcoin.
So I was actually quite heavily focused on that since my last name is Weisbrot. So I wanted to kind of learn more about my heritage. And then when I finished, I thought I could go to Germany possibly for work, but then I realized that I wanted to do something different. And so I ended up looking at Asia. So I purposely chose not to know anything about China when I went so that I could learn from scratch for real rather than assuming I knew what I was doing and then realizing there was a lot of mistakes and then having to fix them. I have a talent for language. And so I knew it would be easy to pick it up once I got there.
I have a talent for the English language. That's, I'm good at that. Learned it from the time I was little.
Kind of. Pretty good.
Sort of.
You're good at the words. Some of the words.
Sometimes I do, yeah. So you moved to China, and when did you go down the blockchain rabbit hole?
I first heard about blockchain when I was in the States for a visit in 2011. A friend of mine wanted me to go in on a minor with him, and I didn't understand it, and he didn't sell it well, so I said no. And then after I started doing the idea exchange in 2014, we had an Israeli speaker talking about Bitcoin, and he was getting really technical into it, and I didn't understand it, so I ignored it again. And then another Israeli friend in China in 2015 was like, hey, man, Bitcoin, blockchain, you got to learn about it. So I said, all right, this is the third time I've heard about it. Like, all right, let's get into it. And so around October 2015 is when I really started to spend like 5-6 hours a day learning about the structure of the chain and what it could do and all of that.
So you said you left China a couple of years ago. So was that right around the time when China was coming after some of the blockchain companies? And you're like, oh, well, if blockchain and this crypto is illegal, I got to get the hell out of here. And so you moved to Vietnam. Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah, that's the short of it. Essentially, in September 2017, Xi Jinping was holding one of the normal 5-year Congress meetings to plan out the next 5 years. And he made it pretty clear that crypto was banned at that point. And normally after the first 5-year meeting of one of the leaders, they kind of trot out the next guy who's going to follow them. And he didn't do that. So I immediately knew something was wrong. And then about a month or so later, he said, to the people, okay, I've decided to amend the Constitution. I'm now, leader for life. And at the point I was in the States for a month holiday. So I said, all right, I'm not going back. And I left my apartment and I left half of my things there. And I just didn't go back.
That's kind of what we've done here too. Travis and I have basically said we're leaders for life. We are the benevolent dictators of the Republic of Bad Cryptopia. And, if you don't like it, then don't hang out in our republic.
We did. We've done vast research on ourselves, investigated ourselves. We found ourselves not to be guilty of anything. We've cleared ourselves of everything, and it's good. We're here for life, folks.
So talk a little bit about this nonprofit that you founded while you're in Shenzhen, Idea Exchange. What's that all about?
So I had applied to be a speaker with TED, and I was rejected. So I decided to make my own TED.
Oh, Ted Turner? Why didn't he like you?
No, the TED Talks. So what I realized after being rejected from them was that they are quite elitist, where the people on stage are wealthy and successful and well-known, and the people in the audience listening to them have paid thousands of dollars to listen to them. And then they have videos where people, the poor people on the internet get to watch for free. And what I decided to do was something where anybody could speak. Obviously, I was curating who was allowed to go on stage, but, everybody could get on the stage and give a speech, and anybody could come in and listen for free. And we wouldn't have any videos online for people to watch. You have to be there to experience it. And we were the only English language event like this in Shenzhen. So we very, very quickly got traction. The first month we put not much effort into the marketing, and we had 100 people come to a venue that was only really meant to hold 30 or 40. The next month, the government had a library in one part of the city, and they offered to let us use the venue for free. It held 250 people. 350 showed up. The next month, a different part of the government in a different part of the city offered us a different venue that could hold 700, and 500 people showed up. And then the next month, 600 people showed up. The next month, 700 people showed up. within the first 6 months of us starting, we had 700 people attending on a monthly basis. With government support, media support, all of it, we were doing the event for free. So we were getting a lot of free support from them as well. And the goal was just to educate people and inspire them through that education and give them an opportunity to meet people that they may normally never have the ability to meet and interact with, and do it completely in English. It wasn't about learning English. I want to distinguish that. A lot of the people were talking about their failures or their successes in business and life and things like that. But we did it through English because a lot of people could speak English. And so we wanted to give them a way to really utilize what they had learned and all of that.
So I guess my question would be around, because this would be what, 2014 in China. Now, is this a little bit before they started clamping down on information? And it sounds like they were actually helping you, kind of a free flow of information. Was there any concerns about censorship or anything at that time?
So the government started clamping down on the freedom of information many years before that. Starting around when I first noticed it really was in 2010 when Google went dark. And 2011, I believe, was when Facebook went dark. But the difference between Shenzhen, where I was living, and the rest of the country is that Shenzhen is given a lot more autonomy in the way it does things. And so what happens is Shenzhen gets to trial all of the new laws and ideas. And if it works, they send it out to the rest of the country. For example, they had face unlock for being able to use payments in Shenzhen before they are going to send it anywhere else. There's a lot of benefits to living in Shenzhen, and one of them is that the government officials there are much more open-minded. And so even though a lot of people would be concerned, or as you said, should be concerned about, fear of the government trying to censor, the first time the government gave us the venue that held 700 people, they wanted to look at the PowerPoints that people were going to, be using. And I wasn't happy about it, but I showed them the PowerPoints and they asked me some questions and I explained the answers. The goal for me was to express to them that, look, I might be a foreigner, but I've lived in China already for 7 years. I love this country. It's why I'm here. Why would I stay here to promote chaos, when I could be anywhere in the world doing anything I want? I don't have to be here. I choose to be here. I had a Chinese partner helping me as well. And she was very important in maintaining a positive relationship with the government on my behalf, because although they tolerated me, they made it very clear that the only reason they allowed idea exchange to exist was because the Chinese partner was there. So, I knew my place, but generally after that first event, they left me alone. In fact, they frequently attended the event and brought their kids with them. And, it was a good, positive experience for everybody. So they knew that we were on the same page.
China seems to have changed position on blockchain a couple times. And now the stories that we're hearing are that, okay, this is the future. And so what do you hear from people that you talk to? Or are they going to be the first, major world power to release a state crypto? And, are they going to lift their bans on certain exchanges and Bitcoin trading? What's the vibe that you're getting?
The central government's position is that crypto is bad because they have no control over it. So as far as I can see, cryptos will never be legal again, ever. But blockchain is good. And you can have a blockchain without a crypto. So they are focused on developing the use cases of blockchain while ignoring the benefit of cryptocurrency, where they want to be in control of the entire economic system. And so that's why they're developing their own central bank digital currency. Whether that ends up being a pure cryptocurrency in its own right has yet to be seen, and probably not, because that would require a level of privacy that the government isn't willing to allow. At the same time, the reason the Chinese government wants to develop this currency is because they don't want to be beholden to the dollar. A lot of governments around the world are realizing that the dollar is not the best thing to be holding anymore. And so they want to get around it. And, for them, being able to develop something that can go around it means that they can deal with Iran, they can deal with North Korea, they can deal with Russia and all of the other countries that the US sanctions without having to deal with sanctions themselves. And or they can allow other countries to settle trade with them without needing to go through the dollars. So, having this central bank digital currency can give them an immense amount of power that the US government won't be able to do anything about. And the Chinese government's made it clear that they do see themselves as a world power. They believe that the US is on its way out. And if you compare what's going on in China to what's going on in the US, you can see very clearly from the outside, looking into both countries, that the US is on its way out. And that's why they are so protective of the dollar. I mean, if you look at Muammar Gaddafi, he tried to get, people off the US dollar for trading oil, and now he's dead. So there's only so much that every country can really accept before their own economy tanks because of their reliance on the dollar. So blockchain represents a really unique opportunity for these governments to develop their own systems that can allow them very quickly to get away from the dollar.
Yeah, I definitely think we got to keep an eye on that. One thing that I learned about going to China and understanding the Chinese culture is that, here in America, we have a quarterly plan. Every company is like trying to get their numbers for their next quarter. And you laid it out. Like China has a 5-year plan, but China not only has a 5-year plan, they have like a 400-year plan. And, it's like, because China's been around for over 5,000-6,000 years or however many years. So, in America, you'd think, oh, we have a 400-year-old. Well, America's not even 400 years old. America's not even 300 years old, right? America's not even 250 years old. And so when you look at that, and China's had so many of these scenarios where they've overcome whatever's happened, and the Chinese just keep cruising on, they have longevity. So they have these long time 5-year goals, 25-year goals, 100-year goals, and 400-year goals. That's amazing. I've never seen any other sort of culture that does that. And I think that that's why they're able to, compete globally, and effectively in some ways, because they think beyond just today. They're looking sort of long term.
Yeah. And there's a few reasons why.
Yeah. What is that?
So essentially, what I've noticed in China was if they want to get something done, it gets done. Because there is no 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 party system debating whether something should or shouldn't be done. The person at the top makes the decisions and the people below just do it. Not only that, but because they have this 5-year plan, they have the ability to deploy the capital to make it possible. So for example, right now you see the government investing very heavily into artificial intelligence and blockchain. Well, the difference between China and the US is that the US has private capital that invests in the ideas they think are good. And then you have the Chinese government, which invests in whatever they think is important. And so I don't know how many AI companies there are, but I imagine there's at least 100 AI companies being funded by the Chinese government for various things. And the heaviest or the most important one is facial recognition, which they're using with their social credit system. And they're using it to shame people. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, where if someone's jaywalking across the street, there's a camera that has AI recognition, facial recognition in it. It can tell who the person is, and then they'll put the person's photo, with their ID, their information, their personal information, and a live feed of them breaking the law on public buses and metros so people can shame them. So there's a lot of that going on, things that we would consider dystopian, but things that they don't really think about. And there was a big issue for me as an American, and a lot of expats I know in China, and probably a lot of other Americans would agree that a lot of the things that China does is scary and dystopian for us, but for them, for the locals there, they don't really care because they never really had that privacy and freedom on a personal level. So it's no worse than yesterday because they never had anything to compare it with.
You just kind of get used to whatever you've got. This is how life is. This is what's expected. And so we live with it, right?
Right. So the Chinese government, around the time of Deng Xiaoping in the 1980s, said basically, we're going to do everything we can to increase the quality of your life via economic freedoms. And that kind of made China more of a socialist country than a communist country, since communist countries have no economic freedoms whatsoever. And Chinese have the ability to buy and sell properties and businesses and stocks, and they can do international trade, and they can get visas and leave the country and travel anywhere they want, basically. So on a personal level, in economic terms, they have a solid amount of freedom. But politically, there is no freedom. And because for the last several generations, there's been no such sort of political freedom, they don't question it because, hey, my life is better now. I can eat some of the people you may go and talk to now, their parents or their grandparents, they didn't have school because there were people rioting. There was red marches. There was the Cultural Revolution, the Great Leap Forward, times at which, people were eating bark to survive. So right now they have it pretty damn good in China. And so they have no reason to question what's going on because the government is taking care of them to the best of their ability. So the government realizes that there's a lot of people and they could very easily revolt. So as long as they continue to improve the quality of their life in terms of economic freedom and daily improvement of, the environment, cleaning up the environment and trying to be more green friendly. In fact, the Chinese government, I believe, is the heaviest investor in green technology in the world. So, they know that there's some things they have to do in order to maintain power, and they're doing their best to do it. And those 5-year plans help to make it possible. So really, the largest difference between China and the U.S. is the Chinese government uses its capital to invest in private entities, and the American government is hands off and allows private equity to flow into those private ventures. And so, China moves faster because they're the ones with the money and they say go, and that's it. America won't be able to catch up.
So then does that sort of tie in maybe to your thinking around the project that you're working on called Sidekick? Because you're building this messaging and payments and marketing, this sort of marketplace ecosystem. Now, is this encrypted, and does this have what kind of tie-in does this have to your Chinese experience? Because is this something where you're looking to encrypt more, or you're trying to create privacy for folks? What is your thoughts behind Sidekick?
So I was in China when WeChat began, and I watched WeChat go from zero to domination across the entire Chinese market. Mm-hmm. Living and traveling in other countries around Southeast Asia, I've seen there's similar products like Line, Kakao, and Zalo, where what they do is they try to dominate as many aspects of a local market's daily lifestyle as possible. If you take that concept and you look at Silicon Valley, generally you see a company do one thing globally. And so my inspiration was, well, WeChat is basically, it's the Chinese government has a stake in it, and they have a backdoor, and they tell them what to do sometimes. And they have the ability to read your deleted chat histories, which is well known, documented, publicized. There's articles about it. I believe some in English you guys can find if you're curious to know more. And so for me, one of the reasons that these companies are stuck in their local market only is because they're dealing with the yuan or the yen or the won or the dong. And by creating something that's similar, then and supporting cryptocurrencies as the main form of payment, then we can instantly globalize. And, obviously privacy and security are extremely important for me as an American, and also one of the motivations for me to do this, because I can't trust Messenger or Telegram or WeChat or WhatsApp or any of these other applications to not, one, steal my information and then sell it to others, or to store my information indefinitely, possibly in plain text and things like that. So
No. WhatsApp's totally encrypted, bro. It's totally encrypted. It's good. It's safe. That's what Facebook says.
Yeah, that's what they say. But
Not so much. So what is the website for Sidekick, and why should people check it out?
So the website is sidekickapp.io, sidekickapp.io. What makes us really unique is that we're taking multiple aspects of platforms that people already use on a daily basis, building them from scratch in our own way, seamlessly integrating them with each other, and making it really easy for anyone to get involved and use it and develop their own communities that we're going to support paid groups for that are also private. People can pay in cryptocurrencies. So if you're an influencer, even you guys, if you have a private community of people that want to access you, if you're talking about trading or whatever you're talking about, you can charge them in this group, and we essentially automate everything for you, the onboarding of those users, the payment of those users, the payout to you. And that's just one thing that we do that nobody else does. And we're also going to have this e-commerce marketplace that'll allow people to sell digital and physical goods and services. We'll have shipping and tracking APIs. We're also building a file manager and a task manager, and you'll be able to share files and share tasks with each other in private chats and group chats. So it's a lot about also supporting the growth of the future of work, which is remote, and Sidekick is a fully remote team from day one. We have 10 people right now full time, all working from wherever they choose to work in different countries. And that is the future. And more people are freelancers. They're hustling. They're starting their remote businesses. And we want to provide a professional type network for them to be able to work with, and a platform that enables them to monetize their knowledge, their experience, their community, and their products and services. So Sidekick is meant to do a lot of different things, and it's very big. It's very ambitious, but that's the point. We need something that kind of puts everything together, because right now, you're using Squadcast to record. You're using probably YouTube for some of your, interviews. You may even have a Patreon. So you're using multiple platforms to manage different aspects of your podcast, when Sidekick can handle most of it in one. And so our goal is to help kind of flesh out companies like Patreon that are useless and just kind of steal your money, because you're bringing them people, where with us, we have a deep network discovery system through a LinkedIn style profile, which is very deep and has tags, and people can find each other through these different tags, and you can find groups through the tags. You can find marketplace items through the tags. There's a lot of that involved in it. And we're not using people's SIM cards. So, the SIM card is connected to your government ID. And a lot of these platforms go, we don't need to log in because we're going to just use your SIM card. But our theory is the government knows who you are. So if the government knows that you're downloading our platform or downloading our app and using your SIM card to get into it, well, then they know who you're talking to, because they can see messages going back and forth between phone numbers, essentially, on the platform. And so it was important for us to build something different that doesn't touch SIM cards, so that users can have that sort of freedom. And one of the things we're also doing as well is the wallet addresses are hidden behind the user name. So you don't have to remember someone's wallet address. You can just go to the contact list and find their name and press it once, it gets filled in, and then you can send them the money directly inside of the private chat or the group chat. So there's no need for people to know their private keys or their wallet addresses. And I know some people will say, not your keys, not your coins, fair enough. But one of the things for us is that we recognize the larger market, the one that has yet to be converted, which is what mainstream adoption is about. They don't understand private keys. They don't understand wallet addresses. They don't understand anything about this. And the only way that it's going to be easy for them to get in is by making it easy to get in. And so custodial wallets are a good first step for us in making that possible by allowing, the hiding of the keys and the address. So they just have to focus on the username, something like they're used to with Venmo or PayPal. And at the same time, by having a custodial wallet system, we have a private internal ledger, which means if a user sends, Bitcoin from one Sidekick wallet to another, it doesn't hit the blockchain, which means no government will be able to know who sent what to who and when and where and why and how. It's only when they take it out of the system that it hits the blockchain. So it's very private in that sense as well.
So I'm on the website. It looks like you're having signups for early access, and you're giving people 100 free tokens. I guess they're Kai, K-I-A, K-A-I credits.
Kai, yes.
And when will the beta of Kai be available?
So we're shooting to launch in January for our Android private beta. Now, I want to say real fast, Kai is not a token. We don't have our own blockchain. We don't have our own token. The reason being the market's shifted a lot in the last year since we started, and it's no longer important for people to have a new coin. They want to use the coins they've already invested in or that they already hold. And so for us, Kai was originally a blockchain token. We burnt the token, we burnt the chain, it's gone. The software, everything's been deleted. Instead, what we're doing is a kind of like an airline mile loyalty system. So if you register, you get Kai. If you refer your friends, you get Kai. If you fill out your profile details, you get Kai. If you spend Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency inside of the system, whether you're sending payments to other people or purchasing services, you get Kai. So we want people to earn Kai for a lot of different reasons. And then the way that they'll be able to use it is if they go to purchase something from us, for example, our premium analytics dashboard for managing groups or the marketplace shops, they'll be able to get a discount on those services by applying Kai as a discount. So it has no fiat value.
Yeah, like why didn't you name it kickbacks? Because that's good.
So
originally, I'm just giving you a hard time about your marketing. Like, what is a Kai? What is it? Does it stand for something?
Yeah. So Kai is there's a Chinese word for, Kai has a Chinese meaning. It has a Japanese meaning. In Chinese, it means to open. So you could say, for example, 请开门, that means please open the door. So Kai is open-minded kind of a feel.
Okay.
In Japanese, it means welcome. And we're an Asian company. We're registered in Singapore. Everybody lives in Asia.
Okay.
As well. And on top of that, K, K is in Sidekick. And in the beginning, we were heavy on the AI, which now we're taking a step back from that a little bit. And so KAI, Sidekick AI, Kai. So there's a lot of different individual reasons for that. And as well, because we wanted it to be a blockchain asset, we wanted it to be short enough to be a trading symbol, but also like a slang for a word. For example, you wouldn't have, you don't call USD, you call it a buck. You call it $1, right?
Mm-hmm. You got slang for, you got cash, you got some bucks.
Right. So we wanted to establish this currency slang kind of a term for it at the same time as it being a trading symbol. But since then, we've gotten rid of the fact that it's going to be tradable and all that outside of the platform. So
I like the groups. I think that's cool. It's like as people do, they like to chat in there and have their own little areas and chat about things. So I think that's pretty handy. And you got a cool little ecosystem, it sounds like. Where can people learn more?
Yeah. Well, we have a Telegram channel that they can go to right now to learn more, as well as the website. Our Telegram is just Sidekick app. So t.me/Sidekick app.
Most awesome. Well, Sean, thanks for sharing about your project and for giving us a better feel for what's happening on the ground on the other side of the world.
All right. Cheers.
And there we go. Told you that we were going to have both blockchain fact and fiction, Mr. Travis, right?
Yeah, that was a really interesting story. He had lived in China for 10 years, sort of absorbed the culture, the language, working with some great technologists over there. So some interesting stuff. People getting involved in the blockchains. A lot of great stuff happening in the blockchain. And here we are at this conference, ETHDenver. Lots of cool stuff going on there. I don't know. Have you got everybody? I think most of us have our badges yet. Oz, you haven't got your badge yet, right?
No, I just got in tonight. So.
Right.
Badges.
So the badges are really cool. There's a QR code on them.
You don't need those.
And then you got to open up your Buffadao app, and there's like money inside that for you to buy at the food trucks. And there's they're gamifying this thing. Joel, what all's going on? Do you know have the skinny on it?
Well, I've got the fat on it because I've got fat rolls going on me right now. So yeah, they're gamifying the conference, and there's various sponsors that are offering badges for doing certain activities, taking actions. You earn XP to unlock these badges. And I guess when all is said and done, people who have the most XP will, I don't know, get in a group photo, or they have something in the voting towards the end. It might pay to explain that this is a really unique crypto conference. This is not like any of the other ones we go to.
Mm-mm.
So what's kind of cool about that? It's almost like they're throwing the Foursquare model back from early Foursquare. And I mean, everything South by Southwest, like half of the cons you went to, everything was driven by getting badges.
Yeah,
and it was also
like Gowalla.
Yeah, it was a big Gowalla was huge, and it was a big social experience.
I've been trying to get the creator of it to revisit it, and he thinks about it from time to time. We've actually been friends since he was a teenager. And I've been telling him it's time to revisit Gowalla, because I loved it. It was great.
Cryptala.
Because it was social, but you were engaging with everybody. You know, it was
Those
like
badges were beautiful. There was like a passport badges.
Yeah.
You're like, so cool.
It was like Pokemon for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah. This event,
this is cool.
they're developing. This is it's a hackathon. So you've got all these people that are super brainy that are creating projects. In fact, we're gonna
all night. They'll be there all night tonight.
Because they're hacking and thawning. So
it's like a telethon, isn't it?
We've talked about Patricio Warthalter, our friend that made the POAP app. That was actually brainchilded, given birth at ETHDenver last year, and now he's got a thing that we're using. In fact, I think we're going to get to interview him on location at the event in the morning.
I was excited to see him. He's a smart dude. Like this whole proof of attendance protocol thing is such a cool thing to be able to prove I was at this event. Like how many people like later on down the road, like, or imagine like I was at the Martin Luther King speech, I Have a Dream speech. Like imagine like big things like that. I was at the thing, like having digital collectibles that are forever on the blockchain. Because here's what happens now. Like, for example, I went to the wild card game a couple years ago in baseball, and I didn't get a ticket. I got a freaking printout from my printer. Like, I have nothing cool to remember to prove that I was at that game.
You could really, really expand on that. Think about it. Like, if you tokenize that in some form, you can make it somewhat historical, and be able to download the social media from that person, like experiencing that event, and then, their notes on the event and whatnot. They could really expand in that if you think about it.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's Elise Sam, our friend from Give Nation. Hey, hand her back the mic a second there, Oz. Don't be a mic hog.
Oh, Oz is a mic hog.
Oz is like, Oz wants his own podcast. That's what's going on here.
He does.
He totally does.
No, it wasn't offered to him.
Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. Give us a quick update on Give.
On Give. Yeah, Give Nation is doing great. We have partnered with Everpedia, and we have also partnered with Brave and Pat Global as well. And things are going really great. We got our first investment, actually. So we are scaling in the UK. We've got a country manager in the UK now, and the woman that is doing Shopkins and Pokemon and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that launch is actually our chief marketing officer. So yeah, we've got a lot of exciting
power.
things. Yes. And we've got investors that are actually asking for our pitch deck a lot, and we just updated it. So we're trying to branch out. We're trying to raise over $2 million to expand. So if anybody's interested, they can check us out at givenation.world.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
So say Mr. Oz Sultan, the king of swing. I always think that Sultan's like the Sultan of swing, Babe Ruth. So I kind of want to call you Babe Ruth.
I think at Dire Straits.
Maybe, yeah,
Sultan
Dire
of
Straits.
Swing.
Yeah.
Oh?
Yes.
No, but that involved like a whole disguise. So I was going to print out like little Travis cutouts. Oh, I was going to print out little Travis cutouts for people to wear, and I was going to call them travestites.
Oh, wow, nice. Wow. And they're like little outfits people can wear?
Yeah, they're dressing up as you.
Okay, nice, like a hoodie and some jeans and a hat. Very good. Travestites. Okay.
So Oz, you're comfortable holding this microphone. I mean, I'm starting to think that maybe you want to do your own show.
It might not be a bad idea. I mean, there's a lot of market out there.
What would you talk about if you were to have a show?
We still have the digital divide. We still have consumers not understanding crypto. And we've got like half of America that could like wire into this and completely change things. So
Nice.
Like kind of heavy, but it's everyone's kind of looking for something, and there just isn't the content to deliver anything.
Yeah, I mean, you're not busy enough as it is. I mean, you don't really got much to do, right? So doing a podcast seems easy to add on to your, right?
It takes a little planning.
Oh, yeah, I saw your LinkedIn. You have like 40 things. Like and I'm advisor of this, the foundation. Like, damn, how many LinkedIn things you have?
He should be a fashion advisor. I mean, he flew in this, a 3-piece getup.
That is
today.
true.
Like, in the old days, people used to get dressed, fashionably to fly. Now, we go in our flip flops.
Is that so TSA doesn't harass you or what?
No, I have TSA pre-check.
Not clear?
Huh?
Do you have clear?
I also have clear.
Yeah, clear is great.
Very nice.
But it's like an easy pass, you know. You have like
They're like, wait, hold on. I think he was the Muslim guy. Go get him.
Oh, it's great. There's I don't get the full Muslim anymore.
Oh, nice. That's funny.
Well, as long as, we've got these guests here saying a few words, I think, we'd be remiss if we didn't turn to our other guests here and let them say a little something. Aaron Sell, our producer, is in the house. What do you want to tell the citizens of the Republic of Bad Cryptopia?
Stay bad.
Oh, that was an easy one.
We're ending the show. We don't even got to talk to Ryan now.
Shows up. Hey, Ryan, come on over here, buddy. So Ryan works with our team out of Kansas City as well. Ryan, why don't you tell everybody how to pronounce your crazy name?
It's Loicano.
Okay, fine. And what is your position in the Republic?
Business development.
Biz dev. Yeah, so a lot of people that you
email marketing strategies, talking to people, emailing them before they go on the show.
Yeah, and you're here to help facilitate that on location at the event.
Yeah, meeting people at the event, learning about their companies, and just enjoying it all.
There's a lot that it takes to make this happen. People just hear our voices, and it started with just our voices, but now there's this whole team that supports us and makes it, really rock.
We're getting close to, like, in July, it'll be 3 years of this show. Like, that's like, what percentage of podcasts last 3 years? Like, there's not many at all, I bet.
Well, we haven't made it yet.
We haven't made it yet. So it's true. That is true. He keeps weed shaming me. Weed shaming me. I'm
not shaming you.
Off and be
I'm not. You could smoke all the doob you want. I don't care.
All right.
Just as long as you can, talk into a mic.
Weed shaming.
That should be a song. Weed
shame me. I used to smoke half a pound a day. You ain't nothing. You never smoke nothing. But
well,
okay, Mr. Joe Cobb, gosh, okay, you're really crazy at college.
On that note, we're going to wrap this one up from Denver, Colorado, high above the
mountain
basin.
Yeah, that's good.
23 floors up here, actually. And I guess we can all end the show together on the count of three. You guys know what to say, right? Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Stay bad.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor.